it's been really clear that this administration is going to hold those accountable, okay? So just look at what went down with Letitia James. We learned yesterday that the appeals court, the appellate court, tossed out the $500 million penalty against Letitia. And we also know that there's 2 investigations going on into her, one into alleged mortgage fraud, and then allegations, this one coming out of New York, that she violated President Trump's civil rights when she went after him so voraciously. And even when you look at what they decided there in the court, the reality that, I'll tell you, even CNN knows she was over her skis on this one. But when the reality hits that you got no case, you got to stand back and say, well, what was it about? Really, what was that all about? Here's the CNN guy saying, yeah, this lady was out there with no victim. I mean, it was wild. And then to think they slap him with $500 million, $500 million, guys, there's something messed up with that.
Well, I'm not Wolf. I have been skeptical of the Attorney General's case for a long time. I'm on record saying that this is a huge win for Donald Trump any way you cut it. And this is a stinging rebuke to the Attorney General, Letitia James. The finding here, it's a very long, complicated ruling, but the bottom line is, while the finding of liability against Donald Trump can stand, for now at least, the damages award, which started at $350 million with interest, gets up close to $500 million, that is thrown out. And the core reason for that ruling, according to the judges, is essentially that there was not enough of a showing here that there were actual victims. And just to refresh people's memories, this is the civil fraud lawsuit brought by the Attorney General. The core allegation is that Donald Trump habitually overvalued his own assets when he was trying to get bank loans from banks and other lenders. And essentially, the argument that Donald Trump made below that has now had resonance in the appeals court is, you're talking about very sophisticated, quote unquote, victims. These are billion-dollar banks that made the loans, got repaid on the loans by Donald Trump with interest, and actually profited to the tune of millions of dollars. So it's not the typical type of fraud case where you have somebody stealing money from other people or ripping off unknowing consumers. So this ruling by the appeals court is monumental. It was also very unusual in that it took them nearly a year to reach this decision. As Caitlin Polance just said, the next step is going to be to go up to the highest court in the state, the Court of Appeals in New York State.
I mean, when even CNN is like, listen, this is a huge win and you really didn't have a case because you had no victim, which they told us very clearly. Oh, well, I've played you guys the sound, right? Remember when the judges were like, hey, lady, and they like toss her off because they're like, you have no victim? I'll fast forward a little bit here.
May it please the court, Judith Vale for the New York Attorney General's office. All of the defendants repeatedly violated...
Ms. Vale, can you identify any previous case in which the Attorney General sued under Executive Law 6312 to upset a...
Blah, 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 blah. He talks and talks and talks and talks. I've played you guys this ad nauseum, so I just want to go to the punchline.
All of them always involved the consumer protection aspect. It involved protection of the market.
Several responses.
And I want to add to his question, and little to no impact on the public marketplace.
Right? Little to no impact, of course. And yet they went forward with that one anyway. And I'm just telling you, you know what? Like, there are consequences. And I realized that one team was in charge. You had Obama there for 8 years and he was pretty skilled at what he did. And then he put in place, allegedly, a whole plan of action. We're talking Obamagate, the Russia stuff, right? That Andy McCabe may find himself entwined in, along with many, many others. And the next thing you know, they're going after him, trying to bankrupt him, for goodness sakes. That's pretty wild. It was very clear from the beginning. She had one goal and one goal only. Peter Navarro made this clear. This is, you're dealing with some bad people, okay? So when you're dealing with bad people like that, you kind of need to be willing to play hardball.
Letitia James is another one that belongs in jail. The Democrats, they really overplayed their hand on this because they thought they could take Donald Trump out. They didn't. And in the process, they totally destroyed American people's faith in our Justice Department. And they got him got President Trump a lot of votes because of that. I mean, the book I wrote about, I went to prison so you won't have to, the whole theme of that thing is that I'm the wake-up call. If they can come for me, they can come for you. So people need to understand that these are bad people. Letitia James, Fonnie Willis in Georgia, Alvin Bragg in Manhattan. The question is, how coordinated were they? And that's a question that needs to be answered by an investigation. Eamon?
Yeah, that's my question as well. I mean, don't forget, Fanny. Let's just call her Fanny, okay? No, I'm sorry. If you wanted it to be Fanny, you could have spelled it Fawnie, right? But it's Fanny. So Fanny's got this boyfriend. Apparently he's still her boyfriend, what do you know? Down in Georgia, she's paying him. I still think that wasn't fully looked into. That's another thing to put on the list, for goodness sakes. So she's paying him. Wonder if she's getting anything off the top. I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, what the heck was going down when he's traveling to the White House? While he's supposed to be the lawyer on that case against Donald Trump. You know, the one that they got the mugshot on. that now sits outside the White House in the Oval Office, right? Like how fantastic is that if you think about it? But Peter Navarro's right. Like, they made this bet. They thought that they could go after him and take him out. But, you know, the people got wise to it. They're like, but wait a second. You told us about that virus. You said there was no way it could come from Wuhan, China. It certainly would never have been manufactured in a lab, only to learn, what do you know? Yeah, came from the lab. Or what about the Hunter Biden laptop? You couldn't talk about this. No, that was misinformation. I mean, you get your Twitter account shut down. It didn't matter. All news organizations were under strict adherence to not talking about the Hunter Biden laptop because the 51X spooks, I guess, on a speed dial with the Obamagate folks, decided that was not appropriate. They did everything they could, right? Throughout. And then you look at the last 4 years, he continued to come back and he continued to come back no matter what they threw at him. And so, you know, Dan Bongino said it very well. Dan Bongino made the point that, you know what, there's got to be consequences. And he said this actually about 8 weeks ago or so. I want to play you some sound from my buddy Dan. He's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful guy. And he said, you know, he doesn't need any friends. He's in Washington for one reason and one reason only. And he warned of what was to be and to come. And then he put this out on Twitter with 2 words: bookmark this. So I thought it was appropriate at this moment in time, as we learn of Letitia James going down, as we learn of perhaps John Bolton getting tied up in something, who knows, right? With those classified docs, speculation. Again, all speculation at this point, but we don't know. I will say this. These guys mean business. Listen to Dan. He's the assistant director now at the FBI to Cash.
Let me ask you about, are you going to be looking into, Cash and Pam, any potential collusion between the DOJ, Letitia James, the novel legal theory of Alvin Bragg or Nathan Wade or Fonnie Willis and the DOJ? Is that something? Has anything come up? Is there any way to determine whether or not evidence was destroyed in any of these cases?
Well, there's always a way to determine that. I don't want to comment on that specific case right now for a reason. I don't want to get ahead of the Department of Justice on that. But I want to say this. You know, the FBI obviously has the public corruption portfolio. And yes, if you are a corrupt politician out there, if you are engaged in behavior, you know what you're doing, we're going to find you. I promise. No one is going to get off. The days of selecting and putting your partisan bias on and taking care of your friends, those days are over. You know what, Sean? I don't have any friends. I don't want any friends. Well, maybe outside of you and a couple of, I don't care. I didn't come here for the money. I didn't come here to make, I know.
No, you didn't go there for the money. I can tell people that for sure.
No, I didn't come here to make friends. I don't give a damn about friends. I don't have any friends. I don't want any friends. I got my wife, I got you, and I got a small crew of people. So I don't need any friends. If
you want a friend in D.C., get a dog.
We're coming for you.
That'll help.
Yeah, exactly. You want a friend in D.C., right? Go get a Labradoodle like I have, because there are no friends in D.C. You've been doing this, 30 years? There are no friends here.
No friends. Which means even Bolton, I guess. I'm sure he was on air plenty with Bolton at Fox. We all were. No friends right now. We're just trying to find truth and, who did what and when they did it and why they did it. And so, I think Letitia's motives were pretty clear, right?
He's called me venomous. We will fight back to your attempt to bring Trumpism to New York City. He's called me disgraceful. Over the fact that they stole the Supreme Court seat. An illegitimate president and an illegitimate member of the United States Supreme Court. He's called me radical. Listen, we know he's crazy. We know he doesn't have a sound mind. We know he's out of control. We know he's losing it. We know his days are numbered and we will come together. He's called me a racist. We've got to stand up to an administration which is too male, too pale, and too stale.
God, she's awful. Okay, so she kind of had it coming to her, right? That is one that's very clear. I'm with Peter Navarro. She's kind of a despicable person, and you've got to set some kind of precedent. You just cannot have these rabid prosecutor types out there trying to take others down. I mean, who the heck is ever going to go into politics, right? I mean, if you have the threat of the Letitia Jameses out there. So what Bongino is saying is really important and well understood at this moment in time. I want you to just keep this in mind. She tried to bankrupt him. And my question now is, who was involved in this? The DOJ was asked, Merrick Garland was asked actually by Matt Gaetz in one of the testimonies. And Matt was pretty forceful. He's like, why can't we get some information about whether or not there was any connection between y'all? Why don't you just show us some of the documentation? My hope right now is that as they investigate her out of New York, as the DOJ looks at whether or not she violated the civil rights of the president, what I want to know, aside from the mortgage stuff is interesting and, perhaps she's just stupid, not just corrupt, but she's just stupid too, I guess. That's one thing. But my question still is, in terms of violating the president's civil rights, did she do this? Did she do this because she was being told to or encouraged to from on top? I mean, don't forget, she was willing to totally bankrupt him and make sure he could never do business in New York again. She wanted to take everything he owned, including Trump Tower. That would have been the prize, right? You could just see her gloating on ABC when she got her verdict, remember?
4 days after a judge ordered Donald Trump to pay $355 million for a decade of fraud, New York Attorney General Leticia James says she's prepared to do everything she can to make sure the former president pays his fine, including, she told us, seizing the buildings that bear his name.
If he does not have funds to pay off the judgment, then we will seek, judgment enforcement mechanisms in court, and we will ask the judge to seize his assets.
God, she was just so happy about that, right? Well, she really does have egg on her face. She looks like a total fool. She is a total fool. She's a political animal, but she didn't understand this very basic thing. I guess she missed this part in law school. And this is the article that Fox put up saying that the 5-member panel actually did uphold some of the findings about fraud concerns, and that will be appealed. But this is the biggie to me. I'm looking at the 8th Amendment, okay? And what does the 8th Amendment do? It protects people from excessive bail. It protects you from excessive fines. What do you think the $500 million is, for goodness sakes? Prevents the government from imposing disproportionately large monetary penalties, right? Because we didn't want to be like the King of England. Cruel and unusual punishments. So we don't have cruel and unusual punishments. This is cruel and unusual. This is excessive. This is extraordinary. So the judge is here in this case deciding, you know what? This goes. This is getting tossed out because she has violated the 8th Amendment. And I would just say, it's like she's just so freaking clueless. Just absolutely positively clueless. I mean, when he was, or this may have been shortly after he won the presidency, she was out there, or forgive me, this was actually when he was running. We're going back in time. I thought she looked a little bit younger. Let me show you here on The View when she was first filing charges, and I guess this would have been right before 2020 and 2019 into 2020, and she's just salivating, right? Absolutely giddy at the idea that she was going to take down the president regardless of if he won or not. Take a peek.
You also intend to prosecute him after he is out of office, correct?
Joy, again, our investigation currently is civil in nature. It is not criminal. In the event that we uncover any activity or conduct, if in the event that we uncover any conduct, oh yes,
but will you go ahead with the civil suits?
Yes, our civil suit will continue, whether he's president or not. And so after January 20th at 12 o'clock, our investigation will continue, Joy.
There's no way a potential pardon for Trump or his 3 eldest kids would shield them from anything you're investigating. Am I right? That's what you just said, I believe.
Correct. He cannot pardon himself. What he could do is step down and allow the Vice President Pence, to pardon him. In all likelihood, I suspect that he will pardon his family members, his children, his son-in-law, and individuals in his administration, as well as some of his close associates. And then I suspect at some point in time, he will step down and allow the vice president to pardon him. Now, it's important to understand he is pardoned from federal crimes, but he is not pardoned from state crimes. Last year, I introduced a bill in the state legislature, which would close the pardon loophole so that individuals such as the President of the United States would not evade justice. It's important that we have this check on presidential powers. And in the legislature, the state legislature, I'm so happy they passed that bill, and it is now the law in the state of New York. President Trump cannot avoid justice in the great state of New York.
Gosh, I cannot even stand the way she speaks. It's so contrived. It's really, really, really contrived. She always says the same thing over and over again, too, in just different formats, different settings. But that's going back a ways. I mean, she's had a vendetta now for years. And I'm just saying, we can't live in a world where these kind of vendettas get played out. And actually, he at least had the wherewithal and the ability and the financial stability to keep moving forward. But what would happen to most people in that situation? They wouldn't be able to. And so that's not fair. It's not the right kind of, situation for America. But it could change, because I'll tell you, this woman's in trouble. She's in a whole lot of trouble right now. She's got 2 DOJ cases against her.
Recommended that the DOJ investigate New York Attorney General Letitia James over alleged mortgage fraud. The AG, Leticia James, has responded. We don't have the video, but here's the quote. "This investigation into me is nothing more than retribution. It's baseless. It has to do with the fact that on a power of attorney, I mistakenly indicated that I was a state of Virginia resident. And prior to that, I indicated to the mortgage broker that, in fact, in bold cap letters, that I am not a resident of Virginia and never will be. They just took the power of attorney, and they're using that as a basis for enforcement of their investigation." Bill, do you know why she said she was a resident of Virginia on the power of attorney, if in fact she wasn't?
Well, I know that we are mortgage experts, and we only refer things that we think are mortgage fraud, and we stand 100% behind the letter. I'll let the letter speak for itself. I do know, and I have seen some reports from that subject, from that subject's criminal defense lawyer, saying certain things. I'll leave it to the DOJ to correct various things. But again, when we see mortgage fraud, we are going to report it. When we see mortgage fraud, we are going to prosecute it within the confines of our duties. And we are not going to be intimidated by a subject's criminal defense lawyer. We are not going to be intimidated by a politician, or just because you have an Esquire behind your name. We are not going to be intimidated by people. If we see mortgage fraud, we're going to do something about it. And I think that you're going to see us be taking this on in a big way. Mortgage fraud is a big...
Yeah. All right. So taking it on a big way. Good luck, Tish. You know who's already casing out the joint there at that brownstone she has? That would be one Ed Martin. He's the investigator assigned to the Letitia James case. And he was recently there, and people were getting a little bit annoyed. Remember, guys, did you see this one where Ed Martin stands outside the brownstone and somebody starts taping him on a phone? This woman starts spazzing out. Oh my gosh, what are you doing? What are you doing?
There's like the back building. Is there want me to tell you how to access my... No, I'm just asking. I'm interested, because usually houses like this... tell me why you're here.
She's like, why are you here? How dare you? I know why you're here. And Ed's the one in the trench coat with the little Columbo look going on. Anyway, she's in trouble. Like, he's on the case. He's investigating her. He's even showing up at the house. Right? He's outside the brownstone, ready, willing to take her on.